Now they're coming and saying, oh, the Christian white men, we're Christian white men right here.
I'm not primed to start a civil war. Are you?
No, I'm not. Most certainly not. Alrighty, so today Tom put together a whole show for us about crime, except for there's some other things too. Welcome to Relevant Rants. I'm here with my good friend and pastor, Tom Tesler.
Oh, wow, the pastor today.
You're pastor
well,
today.
on Relevant Rants, I kind of lose that title.
You're not the pastor of the show.
No, I'm not the pastor of the show. But you know what, Mike, and this is kind of a interesting thing because I was talking to the mayor of Nashville. I was telling you that.
Yes, you did.
And I'm moving there, and I'm moving there in a few years, and I'm not going to be working for a church that is going to be good.
Yeah. But you'll still be doing some ministry.
Yes, I'm the still same guy that I always have.
You know, I had a conversation. We can derail for a second. No,
Okay.
I'm derailing. Here comes
train
the train.
wreck.
So I had a conversation with Justin, my friend Justin, today. We're talking about how we think business and ministry don't have to be separate. Anyway, going back to this.
And I agree with that.
Tom's list of crime.
Yeah.
White House top Dems silent on historic migrant deaths. That's crime, right?
Yeah.
And the illegal border crossings and all that.
Yeah.
But I was looking at this because I was reading the stories and stuff. 2.4 million migrant encounters in fiscal year 2022.
Well, you know what's interesting, too, because I was reading that the minority speaker, Kevin McCarthy, our congressman from Bakersfield, representative of Kern County, had mentioned that 98 terrorists have been arrested from crossing the border.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if that's a trap and that's a good thing. You know, it's like, you get them to cross and you catch them. So that is an up, right?
Well, I don't know. I think, if you were to look at what Biden's doing, you would probably say he accidentally caught them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
There's been 856 migrant deaths.
Yeah, and it's a shame too because they were people that people loved. I mean, there were somebody's sons and probably daughters.
Oh, there it is, right there. CBP data reveals 856 migrants were killed in fiscal year 2022. That's almost 1,000 people. That's it. It's like we shouldn't be even having that many people crossing the border illegally.
No.
And I'm not saying that we're anti-immigration. I'm just anti-breaking the law.
Well, and I think as you talk to people, and we can talk to Danny Jimenez, where his family came to the country illegally, and his grandpa became a citizen. Yeah. Which subsequently his dad did, and he did too. So I mean, he did it the right way.
Well, Danny was born in the States.
Well, he was born in this country,
so he was automatically a citizen.
Yeah, but his grandpa did it the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you just got to say there's a right way to do things and a wrong way. Yeah. And we would hopefully just like to stand on the right way.
And so our next article Tom brought us on crime.
But there's headlines. But of course, people who live in Chicago and New York will tell us there's no crime. But the mayor said there was crime.
We were just looking up, and I showed you the article that New York Times sent me that basically said, "Oh yeah, the conservatives are just making it up." Basically, is what it said.
Well,
we got stats right here that no, we're not so much as it's actually going on.
Well, I was reading the other day, and they were quoting an officer who is patrolling in New York, and they all have mandatory 4-hour shifts to make sure that there's no crime. So they're just kind of keeping the crime down during this very important time in the next, 6 days, 5 days?
Let's see. Yeah.
So this article said that Chicago women were molested from a person that was out on bail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I was looking into this a little bit, and basically he was going around. And he got just charged with like a misdemeanor when it should have been a felony.
And so he gets
and that's
out.
why he was on bail. And now he's going back doing basically the same thing that he got in trouble for in the first place. And again, another blue city.
And it's a sad thing because you have other women's lives that have been impacted.
Unnecessarily.
Unnecessarily and negatively.
I mean, it's always unnecessary, right? But this one could have been prevented.
And it's negatively. And that's the bad thing. I mean, somebody has something they have to deal with now because our laws should have protected them.
Yeah, well, and it's,
protected them.
And obviously, like, we're big involved in some organizations, but dealing with trauma. This is trauma,
This
right?
is trauma.
Mental trauma, and that has a huge effect. And this is something, some guy, some pervert, some criminal that should have never been on the streets to cause these issues in the first place is going out there and doing damage that may only take him 30 seconds, but to these women, it's going to last the rest of their life.
Well, they'll have to deal with it. They'll have to live with it. And there again, The laws should have protected them.
Yeah, and it didn't. And,
No, it didn't.
But this is another big defund the police city. And again, the conservatives are just making this up. Yet here we go again, another headline about how soft on crime produces more criminals. Gee,
Well,
figure,
I
right?
think the Mary, and I think her last name is Lightfoot.
Yeah.
And she says this is why do people make a big deal out of it? Because people's lives are being impacted. That's why you make a big deal.
Well, and if I can mention real quick that one of the big races for Senate is Fetterman or Fetterwoman. Those are his words, not mine.
My name is John Fetterwoman.
And they had the big debate with Oz, Dr. Oz, and a lot of people were saying, oh, well, Oz won that debate, and I think he did. But he was going around saying, well, one of the first things I'm going to do is let the criminals loose. More or less, I'm paraphrasing. It's not exactly what he said, but more or less what he said.
Well, and that's where you just got to say, hey, come on, let's just be reasonable, be sensible. And we're living in that time where, please get out and vote. Your vote does matter.
Yeah.
And I don't care which party you vote for. Vote for the issues that will make a difference to your life and other people's lives. I can't stress that more. I don't care what side you vote for, because you don't have to be a registered Democrat or a registered Republican to vote the right way.
Right.
You don't have to be. You could be either side and vote the right way based on what you have read and seen over the last, recent years.
Well, and Tom may not care who you vote for, but
no, I care.
I don't care who your registered is, who your registered party is, but I do care.
That's what I said.
You said I don't care who you vote for.
Well, I know. I said I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat.
Right.
Vote for the common sense.
What's going to move our country in the
Yes.
right direction?
I agree.
And they say the big liberal, big Democrat thing is progress, but it's not always the right kind of progress. We're progressing in the wrong direction. So what's going to stop that train of progress down the wrong road?
Well, I have something I want to say in a
right
minute
road.
about that. But here we have a 77-year-old man that was based on a news report, beaten senseless, brutally beaten to death outside a San Francisco 7-Eleven. A 77-year-old man.
Wow.
And the police say, so this is the Bay Area police say that was senseless violence.
Well, yeah, isn't all violence senseless?
Well, I hope so, but that's what they said. I mean, you can't. The words are coming out of their mouth.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I mean, again, the liberal policies, very obviously, San Francisco, very blue city, right? Defund the police, whole movement there, and we live in California. You've seen it even in
I won a title.
City of Bakersfield.
I won a title that makes me represent the state of California. I was Mr. California in 1985.
Yeah,
and I've taken heat for that recently too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
the senseless violence is created by, frankly, senseless policies and laws that are promoting that violence and allowing criminals to just be out on bail, like we saw in the Chicago thing. But then you have, going into our next article
from a California university.
They're coming against Christian white
professor.
Men, right?
Well, we have the author of the University of California, San Diego professor, Barbara Walters, warned that Christian white men are primed to start a civil war. And I'm like, whoa. I mean, we're talking, I get this sense she's talking multiple. And I'm thinking back through our history over the last 250 years. I think we've had one.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, because it was because the southern states succeeded under the direction of the then Democratic Party over the way of their life, which was slavery.
Well,
am I right?
Yeah, no, you were absolutely right. But the revisionist historians would have you look at it a different way and say, it's the conservatives are the bad guys. Actually, if you look throughout history, conservatives have been on the right side of things far more often, but they want to rewrite the history and tell you a different story. And now they're coming and saying, oh, the Christian white men, we're Christian white men right here.
I'm not primed to start a civil war. Are you?
No, I'm not. Most certainly not.
We fit both those categories, Mike.
But what's crazy is
we fit both those categories, and I have no intention of starting a civil war.
No.
Hey,
they're the ones more likely to do it. But what's interesting is, right, the side that is more likely to start the civil war is coming against the side with all the guns and ammo, and meanwhile they can't even figure out which bathroom to use.
And you said that.
Hey, it's true.
Well, Mike, and I'm not saying you're not. I'm not saying that you're alleging that that's not true. Because I'm not alleging that's not true. I got to find my words carefully. It's getting harder to do.
But
because I love people, and I do. And if you just got to check my history or Mike's history, is our people that have been on lunch break.
yeah.
We love people. I don't care what side
Absolutely.
of the aisle you sit on. We love people. But there's got to be a point. I was a registered Democrat. We talked about that on a show.
And I forgive
I
you
didn't
for
leave the party. The party left me.
Yeah.
I got up one day and I was like, what the heck? And my dad said, I think we're voting for the wrong party. And I've already said that. And I'm saying it again.
But the thing is, you can't separate. Like they're too intertwined, right? It's like, oh well, the blue's gonna have a civil war with the red. You're gonna be fighting against your neighbor,
See,
right? And you say like we love everyone, and we do, but there's a difference between loving a person and standing for what's right and wrong. And a person can still be loved while doing something wrong.
It's just hard to even read that. But in the state of California, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were like, "Hey, we just watched from the outside in about California, what it's like living there." I go, it's really hard.
Well, I said for a long time, and you remember how many times, and you guys watching probably have seen or heard this as well, how many times they talked about, oh, California's going to secede from the union or whatever, and Texas has said the same thing.
Or divide into 3 states.
Right. Well, yeah, but I always, and I remember telling my parents this, and I've said this before multiple times, and we'll see. But I said, I would vote for California to secede and the day after move. It's like, yes, and then I get to get out.
Well, and I think people can look because they do know that most of our audience knows, and a lot of people know that I am looking to move. And people are like, oh, you're getting out of California? No, I feel God's moving me. And I've told that.
Yeah.
I mean, I only follow what God does. And my daughter and son-in-law live there, and we're talking about moving there. But I'm talking about going there and impacting other people's lives, first responders' lives, being involved with groups that hopefully can make a change in things. And I'm not moving I'm moving to a city that's liberal, but the state's more conservative based.
Well, we had this conversation, not you and I, but me and another friend, I'll tell you who later, about people that are leaving California. And he's like, well, a lot of people are running, and I was talking about what we're doing, and he said, oh well, people are running. I said, well, that's not the case,
us,
right?
It's not you and I,
right? That's not what we're going after. That's not what we're pursuing. We're pursuing something that God's called us to, right? Yeah. And that's a different thing.
And if He calls us to a state that would be friendlier to that, maybe so. I can't make
that. But that's not the reason or the justification.
No.
And is that related? Like, I don't know, like who can understand the thoughts and minds of Christ, right, or God? Mm-hmm. But that's not like what's on our mind in doing that.
Nope, I agree with you, Mike.
So next article we have here is CNN primetime show coming to an end. And I saw an ad this morning. I don't know if you saw it, but I mentioned it to you earlier. The Daily Wire Plus, and the ad said, "Hey, a lot of people are talking about, hey, did you name your thing Daily Wire Plus because CNN Plus?" And they're like. And the ad goes on to say, which is funny because all of you guys probably would.
Daily Wire is our friends. I mean, we got personal friends there.
But they said, well, we don't even. Oh, we forgot that CNN Plus even existed. But I mean, there's probably some truth in that.
But that is the Daily Wire's attitude. They progress forward with what they've been called to do.
Right, they're not trying to mimic somebody else.
They are not, and that's what I could say to most people is just be yourself.
And they may take good ideas from here and there and everywhere, just like every good business organization does.
Well, it's crazy because they did not plan on getting into movies, and Gina Carano was fired from Disney because of her controversial comment, so-called alleged comment, and Ben picked her up. Daily Wire picked her up. Disney is starting to get a little more liberal with their animated movies, so Daily Wire picked it up. They weren't planning on doing these things; they just did it, and you know what? They're successful at what they do.
Yeah, well, you and I both very strongly agree with their mission and what they're trying to accomplish. And like I know you've had personal conversations with some of them, and I would support them 100% in what they're trying to accomplish.
Well, we do because our creative consultant is their talent manager.
Obviously.
We're just going to say that.
Right.
Somebody that works with us on a weekly, daily basis. is Daily Wire's talent manager.
Yeah, yeah. So but CNN's anchor Jake Tapper, part-time show.
But you know what? He just gets to go to the afternoon.
Yeah. Well, but that's definitely not a promotion.
Well, you got an audience, but a lot of them aren't always awake in the afternoon because they're getting older like me. I'm 64, and I don't sleep at that time. But I know a lot of guys my age that sleep at that time.
Yeah. Well, most guys your age probably do. They're either early bird special at 3:00 in the afternoon. But
I have to tolerate this all the time. It's okay.
there's a lot of love here.
Yeah,
there is. But that's just like Don Lemon got downgraded to the morning show. They're like, I don't know what to do with it. We can't fire him yet for whatever reason.
We'll just
Who
get
knows?
people
He
while they're
probably
waking up.
deserves it, but,
They'll go,
yeah.
huh? What did he say?
Yeah. Oh, we could just ignore it because I barely remember him anyway.
Yeah, that's funny. I love it. So I think we have is our feel good story coming up. Our
Yeah.
feel good story is here. So our good friend John Haddad was on our lunch break show yesterday with Meredith Carter, Lucky's Rescue. You got to check that out.
Yeah.
We have some great
show.
shows on lunch break. We're getting ready to drop Muscles Matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have the golf tournament today.
We have the golf tournament today for Lucky's Rescue. John and Meredith out there. But the reason John Haddad comes in is they have a Dodge dealership,
Yeah.
Haddad Dodge. And Dodge's electric muscle car may switch to gasoline. So I'm not even sure the first one's out yet. They're
Right?
already talking
Like,
about
that's a bad idea. You know, I was reading an article this morning. Speaking of electric cars and all that, I was reading an article. It wasn't an article, actually. It was someone's comments about it. It was a truck driver. They're talking about Tesla's electric truck, which Elon's
looked pretty
doing
cool.
a great job. He's doing good things, but they're talking about like no truck driver's going to drive that because like look at a long haul truck driver. They can go and your father was in trucking,
He was.
right? And they can go 1,500 miles on a full load of gasoline, and that's one thing, right? And they take some like 45 minutes to refuel, I think, something like that. And they had no, it was less than that. It was anyway. It was like 15 minutes. And they have the electric vehicle that takes 30 minutes to charge, but it can only go 400 miles. So they're going to spend like 4 times as much time charging, and they can't go nearly as far. And then the other aspect of that was the weight ratio, right? So they say they're carrying a heavier load, and they need to drop some gasoline because they need to make the load work for, there's weight.
You can't drop electric
restrictions and all.
power.
You can't, but they've done. You can't lighten that load. They have made some exceptions for electric now. They've added 2,000, so they're basically cheating to make electric work. Congress and all that, allegedly. Alex, you're welcome. But they are basically saying no long haul truck drivers ever going to drive those things.
Well, what I like about this is the Dodge engineers. By the way, I was telling Mike what every Ford and Chevy truck driver want in life. They want a Dodge truck.
Yeah, you guys comment. If you think he's right, let us know. If you think he's wrong, let us know that too.
When I heard that, I go, I can't wait to say that.
Repeat that though, so they can hear it.
What every Ford and Chevy truck owner wants in common is they want a Dodge truck. But here, yeah, that's funny. I'm gonna get hate with that. But a Dodge electric muscle car. So they have an electric car that can put out the same horsepower as the Dodge Hellcat SRT, which is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I had an electric car. It didn't work. I had an electric BMW. It didn't work. Not for me. And I didn't know who it could work for. I mean, it just didn't. There wasn't enough charging stations. That's my beef with that.
But those electric cars do have a lot of power.
They do. This thing,
really,
this
fast.
baby screamed.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't doubt. I don't doubt it that they are going to be able to do that.
So why are they going back to gasoline?
Well, I think there's some thought there that maybe that there's not going to be a moratorium on drilling forever. What would cause that? It'd be a change in policy.
So basically that's kind of indicative of the better energy source is still natural gas, or not natural gas, but fossil fuels, gasoline.
And I there again, I have never been against electric. I just telling you what my experience was. And my experience is, and I still talk to people all the time that have charging anxiety. I haven't seen anybody that has an electric car that's driving to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
That doesn't. You know, I mean, you gotta stop someplace. And I'm just inquiring now. That's all I do because, you know, it's just what you and I do. I inquire. So I see somebody has a car. I said, do you ever get charging anxiety? And they go, all the time when I go to Vegas. Because they think they got to stop in Barstow, and is everybody else going to have all the electric charging stations backed up for 3-hour wait to get a 5-minute 80% charge?
But there's a big push for electric vehicles, and especially in California. And there's been some, like, we could have a whole show about this. But
We won't.
Not, well, not an episode, whatever.
Yeah.
But we probably still won't. But they're not all they're cracked up to be. Let's leave it at that.
Well, I they're pretty classy and pretty spoofy. They're pretty bougie.
Right.
You know, they look cool. They have all the bells and
But
whistles.
as far as how they impact environment and everything, they're supposed to be so much better for the environment. They're really not, like what everybody tries to make.
Well, from what I read, they aren't. For what I experienced, for convenience, they weren't.
Right.
So that's for me, and I've talked to a lot of people. There again, allegedly. So there again, hey, we've just finished and wrapped it up. So you know, there again,
Thank you guys for watching.
We're just giving our point of view, and hey, go Tennessee Volunteers.
They're doing amazing this year.
They're playing Georgia, and it's my new adopted home state. And you know, I love that song, Rocky Top.
Yeah.
I drive my.
Tom, I knew they were on a roll when they beat Alabama.
Yes.
Wow.
And now, hey, this will be the test. They're playing number 1 Georgia, so we have number 1 and 3 playing this weekend tomorrow. So
I know who I'm rooting for.
I do too. Rocky Top all the way.
Yep. All right. Well, have a great day. God bless.
Yeah.
See you later.
Bye.